guys, and welcome back to the Love Letters from Lakyn podcast. This is your host speaking, Lakynolmsted. Guys, welcome to episode number 8. Today we're gonna dive into a little bit of book talk. We're gonna talk about my reading wrap up. In July, I read 5 books this month, which was my goal. As you guys know, I was in a huge book slump last month, and this month really helped me get out of it. So I'm excited to talk about all that. But first, of course, we need to get into the weekly report, some weekly updates. A new addition to the setup, my sister found this cute little on-air neon sign at, I think she said TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something, and she was like, you need this for when you're recording. It was so cute, so she got that for me. Yeah, I love it. I hope it shows up good on camera because I can't tell until after I'm done recording this. Okay, so life updates. I just recently spent this past weekend at Table Rock Lake for my good friend Georgia's 21st birthday. It was a nice little Midwest getaway on the lake. It was super fun. We drank lots of tequila, probably a little bit too much. Her party was tequila themed. It was like we had like lime balloons everywhere, and I decorated her a bottle of Casamigos with like glitter, and it was bedazzled and it had pearls on it. It was super cute. We all just really pitched in to make it a good party for her, and I hope she had the best weekend ever. We went to the Luke Bryan concert on Saturday night, which was super cool. There's a new concert venue in Branson. It's called Thunder Ridge Arena, and it's on the lake. The view is breathtaking. It's a very, very pretty venue. There's also like a hotel there, and so they have like a VIP section and stuff where you can go up there and watch from the hotel balcony. It was super cute. We sat in the lawn. We we had a great time. It was really fun. Oh, Toby is here to join us again today. Hopefully he doesn't knock over my sign. I can see that happening. Hey, hey. He loves knocking shit over, like just for fun. Dude, okay. So yeah, it was super fun. We went out on the lake on Saturday morning. So the girls arrived on Friday night and we did like a little wine night, just all the girls together. And we got like first pick on our bedrooms and everything, which was super nice. We had our girls' night. Woke up the next morning. We got all of us got up early before Georgia so we could decorate the house and make it cutesy for her birthday. And we made breakfast for everybody. And then her parents picked us up and we went out on their boat on the lake. Guys, let me just tell you, I'm not a sporty girl, I'm not a sporty gal, and we all took turns trying to wake surf. And let's just say I did not get up once. I really tried, but I had trouble getting my upper body up. Like I was doing everything right from the waist down, but my upper body, I could not get up out of the water. So every time the boat would start going, I was just getting waterboarded over and over again to the point where her dad was like, okay, Lakin, if you get up this next round, I will give you $100. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to lock in. Like, I've really got to do this. And they were like, my friends were like, we'll also play Charlie XCX for you if you get up. I'm like, shit, I've really got to do this. Yeah, guess what? Didn't happen. Did not get up. But it's fine. I will continue to try every single year. I tried last year too, could not get up. I was so close, you guys, but I am just not a surfer girl. I'm not a water sports girly, okay? Anyways, so after going out on the boat, we all came back to the lake house, had a little break, took showers, chilled for a second. Georgia brought us Pasta Express because she works there, obviously, to eat for dinner. And, we had like a whole thing of salad, whole thing of pasta, lots of rolls. It was great, honestly. That was so awesome. We started to get ready for the concert. We pre-gamed the concert a little bit. We did tailgate once we got there. Which was also super fun. We just tailgated in the parking lot before we went in. We skipped the openers because, like, who really cares? Sorry. Sorry. Some openers I will sit through, but I just don't really listen to country music, and nobody really knew, like, who the openers were, so we tailgated during that, but it was super fun. After the concert, we all came back to the lake house and partied some more, and let me just tell you, the hangover the next day was nasty. That shit was heinous. It was pretty bad. But we're recovered today. I'm still extremely exhausted. If you can hear it in my voice, like I'm nasally, but also I just sound exhausted. But It was a super fun weekend. I wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world. I love it. There's nothing more special than when we get all of our friends together in one place. It's just so wholesome to see everyone show up for Georgia. I feel like Georgia is the glue of our friend group. She truly is the one who brought us all together. And I'm just so grateful for her. I'm so thankful for her. She was the last one to turn 21 besides Emma, but she's just our little baby. And I'm so glad that we all got to be together and come together to celebrate her. So, Georgia, if you're listening, I love you and I hope you had the best weekend ever. But yeah, that was my little weekend recap. I can't really think of any other life updates besides um I went back to work last week after having a break from New York or in New York. I'm actually off this week, which is kind of nice because we my position that I have, we're not required to work every single week of camp during the summer. So I get, a week off here and there, which is super nice. But it's crazy how fast summer is flying by because it's already the end of July. And when this episode goes up, will it be August? Wait. Okay, when this episode goes up, it'll be the 31st of July. So then the next day will be August. That's just crazy to me. Like this summer has gone by so quick. And Toby, okay. He loves sitting in my windowsill, but I like close my blinds and push them all the way down when I'm recording because the natural light is like too harsh on the right side of my face. And so he just climbs like in between the window and like the blinds, whatever. He's just chilling. It's okay. Where was I? Right, so summer's going by so quick and it's sad, but also at the same time, I am such a fall girly at heart. Like, I am so excited for fall. I love when the air has like a little crispness to it and there's no humidity. It's just a nice cool breeze. I'm just so excited. I'm excited for the coziness of it. Fall is like prime reading season, if you know, like prime reading season. Obviously, I'm always a book girly, but reading in fall is just another level, and I'm so excited to get back into like cozy fantasies and thrillers and just I cannot wait, and I just cannot wait for the food and the coffee and like everything is just 10 times better in the fall, 10 times more cozy. Yeah, I don't know. I will say every time fall rolls around and like everyone's starting their semester of school, their fall semester, I'm always like, man, like I kind of miss school, but like my ass, knowing me, like I will always say I want to go back, and then once I'm actually like starting fall semester, I'm like, oh my God, why did I do this? Like it's almost like I just want to go to school for the aesthetics of like schoolgirl vibes. You know what I mean? But anyways, it's weird seeing all my friends going back to school and I'm just still here sitting in my parents' basement like, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but again, it's okay. We've already talked about that." Okay, let's get into the weekly report. I think that was all I had life updates on. Yeah, I'd say yeah. Okay, weekly report releasing. Role Model released his album Kansas Anymore, and I love it. I've only listened once all the way through, so I don't have much to report on, but it just makes me want to see Gracie Abrams on tour this year even more because he's opening for her, and I love them both so much. My sister actually got me into Role Model, but I really, really want to see Gracie Abrams now even more because it's so great whenever the opener, like, you have just as much love for than, like, the actual, like, act of the show, you know what I mean? Like, whenever I saw Taylor Swift, Gracie opened, and that was so fun. And just loving the opener as much as you love the main act is so much fun because it's like a double concert. So that just makes me want to see Gracie even more. Everyone pray that I can find some decently priced tickets so I can go and see her this fall because that would be the best birthday present. Which also, my birthday is in October, so it's like kind of coming up, but not really. But I am closer to 22 than I am 21. And of course, I'm having a Taylor Swift themed 22nd birthday party because obviously my Taylor Swift birthday, if you don't know what I mean, I'm referencing the song 22 by Taylor Swift. But I'm so excited. My friends and I were talking about it, and they were like, Lakyn, like, we'll all dress up as eras for you. And I was like, shut up. But then we got into this bit of like, Jordan was like, no, you be Taylor Swift and we'll all dress as her exes. And it was so funny. They were like saying which ex they would be. And someone brought up Jake Gyllenhaal. And I was like, no, but nobody can be Jake Gyllenhaal because he didn't come to Taylor Swift's birthday party. He wasn't at her 21st birthday party. So you can't even be Jake Gyllenhaal because he wasn't there. Anyways, sorry, I shouldn't have said his name. He's the one we don't speak of. Anyways, I am super excited for all that is to come. My sister's turning 20 in August, which is actually insane. We're gonna go, me and my parents are gonna go and see her and have dinner with her on her birthday because it's a Friday and I actually don't work that Friday, so it just worked out so perfectly. But super excited for that. I can't believe how fast she's grown. Whatever, okay. Experiencing good old Midwest weekend on the lake. You already know. The worst hangover of my life yesterday. When I tell you that shit lasted all day, I woke up at 11 yesterday morning, not by choice. Someone came and woke me up. They were like, Lakyn, are you alive? Because it was so bad. And I don't even think we went to bed that late. Well, now that I mention it, I don't know what time I went to bed. Anyways, I took a nap last night from like 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and that shit was weird. Waking up like at 8 p.m. That, when you wake up from a nap and you're like, you feel like you're in a whole other dimension. Like, I woke up at 8 p.m. and I was still hungover and I was like, really? This is still happening? Like, we're still doing this. But, anyways, worth it. It was super fun. Okay, playing and watching. We're about to get into some weird shit. I've been playing so much Roblox lately, but specifically this horror game called Cheese Escape. Hear me out, okay? It's like this cheese maze, and there's this creepy mouse like chasing you, and you have to collect 9 cheeses to win and like to escape the maze. But there's also like keys you have to find to get through certain doors of the maze. It's insane. There's safe zones, and like this mouse is just chasing after you the whole time. Brittany and I will play together. Like, she'll text me and I can be like, get on Cheese Escape right now. It's so funny. And like, we both end up rage quitting because it's so impossible to beat that freaking maze. I need like the kids at my work to tell me how to beat it because I feel like I discovered this game and I was like, Brittany, there's a cheese maze game and it's horror. We were like, oh my God, we thought we found the coolest game ever. Apparently, the kids are telling us that it's not new and that we're behind on this game and that, oh, it's so easy and they've already beat it. So whatever. Okay. I've also been watching Love Island, of course, still. I think I'm finally on like episode 29 or something. I'm getting closer. Liv just left the villa. Harrison just entered the villa. Miguel and Leah are going steady. What else is happening? Aaron Aaron is just screwing everything up with Kaylor. And hot take, I actually like Kaylor. I think I can relate to her on an emotional level. People like have memes of her and make fun of her for always crying and like that her voice is annoying, but I personally am like, you know what? I've been there. I'm a crier. I'm an emotional gal. Not to say that the other girls in the villa aren't emotional, but Kaylor just shows it a little bit more than they do, I think. And I think it's so brave to be that vulnerable on live television when all of America is watching you. And unfortunately, that would be me. I'd be a sobbing mess on that show if I was ever on there. Which, by the way, I'm not strong enough to be on one of those shows. I could not do that, you guys. I get attached so easily. If someone like if someone left me for a bombshell, I'd leave. I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I can't go through this heartbreak. But anyways, yeah, I've been watching a lot of Love Island. Obviously obsessing. Love Island, the PPGs. Is that what it is? PPGs. Leah, Serena, and Janae, my girls. I've been loving watching them like live their lives outside of the villa and seeing all their TikToks. They've been so active on like TikTok and Instagram, especially Leah, like all of them together and like it's just so cute and so fun to see them build cute like continue to build their friendships and relationships outside of the show and outside of the villa because that's like the true test is how Leah and Miguel interact outside the villa. That's the true test of the relationship. And I think they're going steady. They're so cute. I love Serena. I love Janae. I love Leah. Their friendship on this show was just such a great, beautiful representation of female friendship. And seeing that still happening outside of the villa is so beautiful. And I feel like these dating shows and these like crazy love game shows, like they just truly show friendship and female friendship, and I love that so much, and male friendship. Like the guys on this season were also so very close, and I personally just love watching the friendships blossom and how these people become found family. And if you don't know, found family is like my favorite book trope and it's also apparently like my favorite thing in real life. I feel very similar to my friend group that I have right now. in real life because we are such found family and we all treat each other like family. We fight like sisters and brothers sometimes, but we all love each other at the end of the day and we will all always end up forgiving each other. And I feel like my friend group just reminds me of the villa and I love it. This whole weekend at the lake, we were just pretending we were in the villa and one of us got a text and we were like, oh my god, I got a text. And it's just so funny. I love it. And I love that everyone's in on the bit and like knows what we're talking about. But anyways, that's besides the point. I guess I've been obsessing over my friends. I love my friend group. I'm so blessed and grateful to have them in my life. I'm probably about to start crying because I just love them so much and truly I couldn't have been blessed with a more supportive, loving, caring, funny, fun friend group and I'm just so eternally grateful for them every single day. But anyways, okay, reading. I'm reading Reckless by Elsie Silver, but I haven't been reading much this past week, so I'm only a few chapters in. But I can already tell that Theo and Winter, is that his name? Theo? Theo and Winter are probably going to be one of my favorite book couples from Chestnut Springs. I'm already loving their banter and who Theo is as a character, so I'm excited to get into that one. Treating, guys, if you haven't noticed, I'm wearing my new Taylor Swift folklore cardigan. It went on sale again for Folklore's, I think, 4-year anniversary. And yeah, I finally snagged one. I got the medium large. It is a little oversized, but I like it that way. And it's so cute. I think this is the third version of the cardigan, of the folklore cardigan. And I'm obsessed with it. It's very cozy. It feels very good quality. Um, yeah, I'm obsessed with it. I haven't taken it off since it arrived. So, also, normally I feel like Taylor Swift merch takes forever to get in, but this shipped so quickly. I think it shipped the day that I bought it, and then it was here like 3 days later. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, that was my. Oh, hello. Oh, Juliana texted me. What did she say? I'm not gonna actually. I don't want to expose our texts, but love you, Julie. Okay. Reading wrap up. Let's get into this. That was the weekly report. Now we're getting into the main stuff of this episode. I want to talk about my reading wrap up for the month. Cuz like I said, my goal that I wrote out in the beginning of the month was to read 5 books this month and I did it. I did it. I will say to be fair, well, we'll get into this. So let's just get into this. Okay. Read 5 books, which was my goal for the month of July. 2 of the books were soft DNF. So if you don't know what a DNF means, it means did not finish reading. But a soft DNF is like, okay, I'm not going to finish reading this right now, but I'm going to pick it up later. So 2 of those were DNFs that I ended up coming back to this month. And then 3 of the books I binged in like a couple of days. So here's our little analytics. 1 book was fantasy or romantasy, I guess. 3 were romance, 1 thriller. So let's get into it. First book, Heartless by Elsie Silver. So this was a soft DNF. If you guys remember, it took me forever to finish this book. Cause Sydney and I were reading it together, but she surpassed me so quick because I was in the biggest reading slump of my life. And it was just so funny. Like when I finally finished it, she was like, we were joking about it, like, wow, it took you a month. Like, but you guys get it. Reading slumps are hard. So Willa and Cade are our couple in this story. Cade is like a broody older guy. There is an age gap in this one, and there's also a kid in the mix, which I honestly love when, and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I love when kids are involved in the mix. I don't know, maybe it's because I love kids to begin with, but I love when one of the people in the couple have a child and it like has to do with the situation and the plot. I think it just adds a lot more like emotion to it and a lot more stakes. And I think it's just so wholesome when there's a kid in it and like Cade is the father of the kid and then like the kid loves Willa so much. So basically Willa is the nanny in this book and she who is it that tells her that he needs a nanny? I can't remember. So the first book in the Chestnut Springs series is called Flawless, and that one is Summer and Rhett's story. And Summer and Willa are best friends. Okay, so Cade's talking to Summer. He's like, I really need a nanny for my kid. I think the kid's name is Luke. I can't remember. Anyways, so Willa is like this fiery personality. She reminds me a lot of myself. Actually, she's very confident and she's not afraid to express her sexuality. She's very fiery, but she also like has a soft spot for kids and you know anyways, I really related to her. I felt like, she kind of didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. She also didn't go to college, so that's also another reason why I related to her a lot. But I just really saw myself in her character. And, Cade, he's known to be like a very cold hearted, heart of stone man, and she kind of cracked through that facade. And I just love that trope so much. I think that's also why I loved Wild Love by Elsie Silver, which I rated a 5 star, because this couple just reminded me so much of them. But anyways, I really loved that book. I really enjoyed it. I rated it a 4 star because obviously it took me so long to read. I think maybe if I had read it faster, it could have been a 5 or at least a 4.5. I also thought that some of the smut in this book was just a little too cringy for me. I think that, and I've said this before, I believe, but I do prefer a young adult romance a lot of the times because there isn't as much like cringy, detailed smut, which is fine. Like, I can deal with it in a romance novel, an adult romance, but sometimes it's just too much for me. Like, we're grown. Why are we saying things like, trigger warning, like, this episode's not for kids, but like, why are we saying things like throbbing cock? Like, hello? I don't really want to hear that. It's like, that's just not sexy to me. You know what I mean? Anyways, so yeah, Heartless was a 4 star. Next book was Reckless from the Powerless trilogy. This is book 2 in the Powerless trilogy. The third book is coming out next year, I believe, and she announced that it's called Fearless. So this is Reckless by Lauren Roberts, by the way. So this is the second installment of the Powerless trilogy. Kai and Peyton, they've already done their challenges in the first book, which, by the way, warning if you haven't read this book, I'm going to try to give like non spoilers, but I will be briefly talking about kind of the plot line. So obviously, we get, the disaster that happened in the end of the first book. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. And so we're back to kind of enemies here because it was an enemies to lovers trope in the first book. We're back to enemies here. Peyton is trying to escape. She's trying to get far away because she is wanted in this city, okay? I will say this book fell a little short for me. It was very slow paced. I felt like we kind of lost sense of the plot. We lost sight of the plot. I didn't really know what was happening. They were it was like they were very like, it was giving enemies. Like, it wasn't even like cute enemy banter. It was like, damn, like they hate each other in this one. And I just didn't personally like that. But I do understand that this book was needed to kind of move us along so that we can be prepared for the third book in the trilogy. It was kind of like a bridge from the first to the third book, okay? And I know that like sequels, that happens a lot, but unfortunately, I like compare every sequel ever to A Court of Mist and Fury from the ACOTAR series because that was the most perfect sequel you could ever get in a book series. But I need to stop comparing other fantasy books to ACOTAR because like nothing compares, if you know what I mean. But anyways, yeah, this book did fall a little short for me, but I would still recommend it if you loved the first one because it is necessary and important to get us to the third book, which will come out in a year. But I will say I did read this book in like 2 days. It got me out of my book slump because I don't know, I think because I was excited to dive back into a world that I was more familiar with. So it did help me get out of my book slump, which is why I rated it a 3.5. I'm like, okay, I didn't love everything about this book, but it helped me a lot. I was able to get through it pretty quick, even though it was slow paced at some points. There was some banter that was still good and I enjoyed, and I think, they found that love with each other again, and whatever. It was much needed. So I think, again, it was a filler book that was much needed to bridge us from the first to the third book, and I'm really excited to see how the third book goes. So, which, by the way, I still never read Powerful, which Powerful is a novella that's also kind of a part of the series, but you don't necessarily have to read it. But Powerful follows Adina, which she's a character in the first book if you've read it. I haven't read it. I don't know if I really have interest to because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the Powerless trilogy, I really don't have like a lot of interest in it. Like, I think it's a fun, light, fluffy romantasy, but I personally feel like these books don't have much depth and I'm just not so fully immersed in them that I need to read the novella, if you know what I mean. Okay, third book I went back to after finishing Reckless was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is a thriller that I picked up last summer. So I know what you're thinking, Lakyn. You DNF'd this book last summer, then came back to it this summer. Yes, I did. Last summer, I made it to like 60%. And then one night, I just like, after I finished Reckless, I was like, what do I read next? I was looking through my Kindle and I was like, oh, I mean, I have 40% of this book left. Let's just binge it. So I had my little glass of wine and I was binging this book. I will say I rated it a 3 star. It's my fault though, because I know that the ending would have, it, the ending would have hit so much harder, like 10 times harder, if I had finished that book within like 2 days, other than coming back to it after a year. Obviously, the ending didn't pack that same punch as it would have if I finished it quicker, or if I finished it last summer instead of waiting a whole year later. But I will say that the ending did still shock me. So that's fair. And that's why it gets a 3 star, because I did enjoy that book. I think there were lots of crazy twists and turns. It had me freaked out at a couple points, which it's crazy how, like, okay, I love horror movies, and but they don't really scare me anymore. And I think like the books, like thriller books, kind of do genuinely like give me a little scare sometimes, especially when I'm down here reading in my dark bedroom. I'm like, oh, I'm a little nervous. But yeah, the ending still did shock me. I enjoyed the story. I would definitely still recommend Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney to you guys. It's a good thriller, and I know it would have been a way, way higher rating if I had read it in a couple days. And Alice Feeney is very well known. She gets a lot of recognition for her thrillers, so I do want to end up giving her another chance, maybe in the fall time, and read another book by hers. I do want to get into more thrillers anyway. That was actually one of my reading goals for this month, was try a new genre, or like start getting into a new genre, and thrillers definitely, like, I'm interested in more now because I never really was drawn to them. I mean, look at my shelves. I read fantasy, romantasy, and romance. Like, that's pretty much the majority of the books I have on my shelves, but I do want to get into more thrillers. So if you guys have thriller recommendations, please comment them on my Instagram, on my YouTube, whatever. Text me. Like, I need thriller recs for the fall time, because like I said, I'm already so excited for the fall. Oh, something I forgot to mention about Reckless was that I guessed the ending so early on in the book, and which is kind of disappointing. Like, I knew what was coming, but it does make me feel kind of smart whenever I predict an ending, so that was cool. Okay, number 4 book of the month, The 7-Year Slip. And this one, you guys, I could go on and on about. It is fully a 5 star forever and ever. I think this is a book that I could reread every year, and I would still feel every emotion that was attached to it and attached to these characters. It was such a magical world to transport to. And I want to say, I think I mentioned this last week, but I was reading it while I was in New York, and it takes place in New York City. So it felt so magical to be reading about the city in sort of like a fantasy like world. Not really fantasy. It's kind of like a light fantasy. Like, there's magic in it, but it's not, it's just like kind of weird happenings. Not really full on fantasy, but it was really cool to read that while being in New York, and it just felt 10 times more real. Whenever I would dive into that world, it felt like I was actually there because I was in New York City while reading it. But like, I could not stop thinking about this book the whole week that I was there. Like, when I was in New York, I was just thinking back to, like, oh, like the characters in this book did this here. Like, they were in this area of the city. It was super fun. I still haven't stopped thinking about that book. Like, I recommend it to anybody, not to mention the writing was also incredible, and like, I experienced a human kaleidoscope of emotions in that book. Every single emotion you could think of, I went through in this book. And I just think this book was truly a masterpiece. What is this author's name? Wait, is it Ashley Poston? Where is my 7-Year Slip book? Yeah, it's Ashley Poston. I also just picked up her book, A Novel Love Story, which I'm super excited to read. It's definitely on my TBR, my never-ending TBR. So we'll see when we get to that. All these books kind of over here, if you're watching on YouTube, like on this shelf kind of is a lot of my TBR pile. A couple of those I've already read, like The Last Letter I've already read, Some Kind of Perfect, Twisted Love, Twisted Games, I've already read those, but everything else on there is pretty much on my TBR. So I have so much on my summer TBR. I'm scared I'm not going to get to it all, but it's okay. I told myself in the beginning of the year I wasn't going to worry about TBR. I wasn't going to worry about, the never-ending titles. Like, I'm a mood reader. I will read what I'm drawn to in the moment. But Anyways, 7 Year Slip, I recommend that to anybody and everybody. It is such a good book, guys. A great message too. I feel like living in the moment is a huge message in that book, and going after your real dreams and not just doing something because you have to, but doing something because you want to. I love it. I was really inspired by the both the main characters in that book, and actually a lot of characters in that book I was so inspired by, especially her aunt in that book. But now I'm just rambling. I go read the 7 Year Slip. If you're gonna take one recommendation from me, read the 7 Year Slip. Promise. And Throne of Glass, but those are two different things. Okay, last book of the month, guys, Powerless, which is book number 3 in the Chestnut Spring series. Salone and Jasper. I always knew they were gonna be like probably my favorite couple from that series, but it was like they just were so perfect for each other. I mean, it's the trope of like best friends to lovers, and I love that trope so much because I think it's so important and so wholesome to have that built up friendship with your partner before you actually start dating, because then it's like you're literally with your best friend. You know what I mean? And I think that so in this book there are some trigger warnings because it talks about some very heavily very heavy trauma for both characters, but especially Jasper's story. And I think that for me, this might sound crazy, but the more emotionally like effed up a book is, the more I love it. I mean, Boys of Tommen is like probably one of my 5-star series ever, and there's a lot of trauma in there and a lot of like effed up shit. But I just think that the emotional depth of a character adds so much to a story. And if a book makes me cry, it's gonna get a 5-star most likely. Like, if a book really tugs on my heartstrings, it's gonna be a 5-star for me. And I just, again, that goes back to me being such an emotional person. But I think it just makes a connection with the couple so much deeper when they have these past struggles that they can confide to each other about. And you know, you know what I'm saying. But I rated this book a 4.5 mainly because, guys, it would have been a 5-star, but some of the smut is so cringy. Like, okay, don't listen to this if you don't want to hear a spoiler, but there's this one part in this book where he like asked her to crawl for him, and I'm like, oh my god, I literally have to skip over this chapter because what the hell? What do you mean, crawl for me? Girl, bye. Boy, bye. Like, no. So that's why I gave it a 4.5. I would still 1000% recommend this book. I would 1000% recommend the Chestnut Spring series. I think the cowboy romance vibe is so perfect for summer. But you can also read these any time of the year. I mean, Salone and Jasper's book took place in the winter, I think. But I loved it so much. I love the Chestnut Springs world so bad. I love Elsie Silver. I've become such an Elsie Silver fan. I've become such a cowboy romance fan. I cannot wait for the second installment of the Rose Hill series. So like what comes after Wild Love. But I felt like the romance in this book had way more depth than the other couples in Chestnut Springs. No hate to my other Chestnut Springs couples because I love you guys still, but Salone and Jasper have a special place in my heart forever. So yeah, that is my reading wrap up for July, you guys. Um, it was a good run we had this month. I'm excited to continue the Chestnut Spring series this in August, and who knows what I'll read next. I'm kind of thinking Say You Swear by Megan Brandy is on my radar. I still really need to read Just for the Summer, and the summer will be different. But we never know when we're going to get to that. Also, I still really need to read Dishonestly Yours by Krista and Becca Ritchie because if you don't know, Krista and Becca are my girls. I love them. I love the Addicted Calloway Sisters series, which I also need to do a reread of that series as well as not Throne of Glass. I've been thinking recently about doing a reread of ACOTAR because I normally do a reread of those books during the summer, but I really want to go through them again and annotate because there's just so many things that you don't catch from the first book that they follow up with in the second book and the third and so on and so forth. But it's hard to balance like your TBR as well as rereads. So many problems. I mean, come on. Like it's just so hard to be a reader girly. There's just so much, you guys. It's a constant expanding world of books and it's so exciting and so fun, but it can be so stressful. So Anyways, thank you so much for listening to this episode or watching. Follow me on Love Letters from Lakyn on Instagram. Follow me at lakynolmsted on Instagram and every other platform for any life updates. That's kind of my personal Instagram, but I also post a ton of book content on there as well. And yeah, stay tuned, you guys, in these coming months for some more special guests. I know it's been a while since I've had a guest on the podcast, but I have some lined up that I'm super excited for. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. I hope you're having the most wonderful summer. And this has been a love letter from Lakyn. Bye, guys.